Welcome to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host. I'm glad you're all here. And we have our guest, Brad Host, Birmingham City Commissioner, one of our regulars. We're going to find out the inside story of what's going on in Birmingham. We're like it's walkable community. It's not the city of science and culture. I think it's Midland. Anyway, welcome, Brad Host. Welcome back to the show, and welcome back to be in studio. We've been doing this remote since 2020, which we closed down for 2 weeks to flatten the curve. It's 2024, and we're back. So welcome back.
Well, it's nice to be here. I can't thank you enough for having me, Chuck.
Well, I'm always happy, to have someone on. That's great. Big hardball question. What's going on in the city?
Well, probably the biggest thing right now is the YMCA building, which we purchased as a city in July of last year. And the commission, I'm very proud to say this, has come around to the notion that whatever is done on this property should include a pool for people of all ages, like the Y has been providing for 60 plus years, as well as space for the YMCA to continue their outstanding programming community-wide. All of which I'm excited to say that's where we're at. We haven't determined what we're going to do, but I have long said that this should be a community center, and I'm pleased that they're including the pool as well as the community programming. It shouldn't be a senior citizen facility. It's going to have our seniors, known as Next, but it'll also house the rest of the age brackets.
Well, I got to have full disclosure here,
Yeah,
all right?
please.
I taught swimming at the Birmingham Y in that pool for 22 years. From like 81 to, we'd do the math. So I actually taught swimming there. I taught pikes, which were 3 to 5 year olds, the little ones. And I think I did it for pay for about 10 years. And then it was just too big a pain in the butt to fill out a time card. So I just did it as a volunteer. So yes, I'm an alumni of that pool. And I also swim laps. And so I could get into that. On the other hand, I have a year-old baby grandson. Where is he going to go swimming? Where is he going to go? And so I kind of like that idea. Here's the deal, and this is kind of a question, but Next, they seem to be a little bogged down right now. Where they're going to go? How is that happening? I think they're kicking the Y out. I know I've talked to the Y director. They're kicking the Y out. Where are they at on that? Do they know what they're doing?
No, we're still in formation, but no, we're not kicking the Y out.
You're not? Okay.
No.
Wait a minute. Stop. Hold the presses here. The YMCA in Birmingham is not being kicked. Okay, great. Good to know.
Yeah, and the main reason is they are more than happy to handle the risk in the operation of the pool, as well as to continue their programming, which is for all ages. Next is just us seniors, so to speak.
Yeah, for guys like you and me.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we will share it. And back to you being a lifeguard and working with the Pikes.
As a swimming instructor, I was more than a lifeguard here.
Oh, excuse me. My kids, as maybe yours, learned how to swim there as pollywogs, is the way I refer to them.
Pollywogs are younger. Then you become eventually you work your way up to being a shark.
Oh, okay. Anyway, we're going to continue that, and I'm very proud that the commission has put the pool in the mix as well as the YMCA programming. So, the point being, whatever we come to the public for as a bond will be a community center for everyone, and as well as the continuation of the Y wonderful programming.
Now, can you do that? Because I know that the senior millage got passed, and it was a senior millage. I mean, I didn't read, I didn't read. I voted for it, okay, but I didn't. This is nice. Hey, look, we got used to voting for things that we didn't read, don't we? But the deal is that, I figured that was a senior millage. Can you use those proceeds for something like that?
Yes, but that was a sinking millage, and we're in the second year of that small millage.
What is a sinking millage?
That means it was only effective for 3 years. Namely, it's .33 mils for 3 years in a row, and that amounts to $1 million a year. So that, in a sense, gives us the money to buy the building, which was $2 million, and then the other $1 million goes into figuring out what we're going to do.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody? Okay. We are obviously on Bloomfield Community TV. We're here in the township. We're in studio, as we've been bragging about. I've been bragging about is that at Bloomfield Township you have Bloomfield Seniors, which has a pool. It's run by Chris Tavara. It's a great program. You also have Renee Cartwright up at the OPC, Older Persons Commission, up in Rochester, which if Bloomfield is gold standard, they're platinum. And and I think Renee used to work at Next. Has anybody ever talked to them about what they do, how they do it?
Well, yes, we are in touch with them, and a couple of citizens who are very interested in all this are meeting with the township people to discuss how they put their center together. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel when Rochester and Bloomfield Township, et cetera, all have going facilities. So we're going to try to feed off of them, though we are smaller, but
Hey,
we want to be comprehensive.
We punch above our weight. That's great.
That's a nice way to put it.
It is. So now, just to shift gears, Birmingham, the downtown looks great. I mean, there's always the churn, the stores closing, the new ones opening. That's normal. I'm prejudiced. There's a Warby Parker. So when I'm going to need new glasses soon, I could just go downtown. The Restoration Hardware, when's that going to open?
I really don't know. A lot of citizens feel it's going slowly, which maybe it is.
Well, didn't they have to almost tear it down and reorient it?
Oh, that was almost a year of the construction. The new president of RH reversed the building, and so now all the elevator shafts and everything are on the west side of the building, whereas the original building had the orientation to the west by having the stacks in the east. And the joy of that change of design is it's going to be an absolutely gorgeous building.
I am looking
when they're done.
Yeah, well, I'm having to plan now for the hole in my budget for when they open. I mean, there's a couple of chairs I know I want, and we shall see. Okay, this brings us to South Old Woodward. South Old Woodward, from, what is it, Brown Street down?
Right.
That is just popping. That is really coming into bloom, and I love seeing it. Do we need parking? Are we going to have are you going to need to put parking down there, more parking?
Yes. But I don't know what is in the works to accommodate that, heightened development. The problem, in central Birmingham is the parking as it is now. Now, according to our parking czar, Aaron Ford, our statistics are the places, the parking decks are not full or anything, whereas I would cite the 1980 Birmingham plan, which used the same numbers for retail, commercial, and residential housing as we do today. In the appendix of that 1980 plan, if Birmingham is going to be 2 stories downtown, we have to have 6,300 parking spots.
Okay.
Okay, and if it's going to be 4 stories, which, by the way, a lot of it is coming in at 4 or 5
Yeah, 4 or more.
or more, it's supposed to be 12,300. Now, how many parking spaces do we have now if we were built out at 2 stories? If you include the surface parking as well as the decks, we're at 5,000.
We're at 5,000
So
right
we're
now.
1,300 short of the 2-story downtown Birmingham. And if we go to 4 stories, we're, what would it be, 7,300 short.
Well, it's funny because, the 2016 plan, which was in 1996, I was on that committee. And
Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. It was, I'm proud to say, is that the parking was not even addressed. Parking was like air, water, sunshine. It was so much of it.
It was a given.
It was almost like an embarrassment. They didn't even plow the top floors in the winter because there wasn't the need. We never even considered parking. Parking was just there. It was like, how can we fill this up? So to see these are the problems of success. But how are you gonna deal with? I have a friend of mine who's into urban development, and he says, "Nah, you don't need it." Yeah, I think you need it for South Woodward if that's going to keep popping.
Yeah. I think we reduced possibly up to 40 spots down there, down at the south end. And yes, it's going to become a problem as development goes down that way. But I think the commission will try to deal with it at the time, that it comes down.
Motion to punt. No, did I say that? No, I think that's. I think that area blossoming is great because once again, that is nothing that was foreseen, and I don't know why, but we didn't. We just you got the carpet stores there. It's all and the office supply. It's really nice. Kind of.
It is.
Peters Auto into Royal Oak. It's great.
Yeah.
No, it's just booming. Glad to see.
If I may, I want to talk about Restoration Hardware. The site originally was 3 one-story buildings, which was Rush, Du Bois,
Sure.
Frank's, and then a real estate company.
Yes,
on
and
the
by the
corner.
way, I'm going to. I don't know if I'm violating ethics laws now. Frank's Shoe Repair is alive and well, and it's up north on Woodward Avenue, just north of Square Lake, on the
West side.
northwest side. And I'm putting in a totally unsolicited plug for Frank's Shoe Repair. There we go. All right. Maybe we should get him as an advertiser.
And thank you for doing that, because he's doing very good business.
I'm glad.
And you helped send me there when you told me that he had relocated.
Oh,
up
yeah. I
there.
mean, that was one of those things I thought was gone forever. So good.
So anyway, the one-story buildings on those 3 sites that are now going to be RH had approximately 30 parking spots between the 3 sites. RH is going to have 24 or 25 parking spots in the basement of their 4-story building. That means from a patron viewpoint, there's a deficit of approximately 225 cars. And the commission never talked about the employees. Namely, in theory, there'll
Sure.
be 150 employees. I don't know how many cars that is, but just add it on to the deficit of 225.
Oh, that's a lot. We're going to have to hold that thought because we're going to take a break. We'll be right back, and we can talk about Restoration Hardware, where I'm going to be spending all my money. So might as well. And downtown issues in general and Birmingham issues in general with City Commissioner Brad Host. Don't go away. We'll be right back here on Eye on Oakland.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Okay. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Welcome back to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host. We're talking to Brad Host, Birmingham City Commissioner, and we are basically on problems of success. And the problems of success are if you have a bustling downtown that people come to, they got to have a place to put their cars. Technically in the context of the South Old Woodward, which is coming up, but it's essentially probably true through the whole downtown. You were citing some numbers on,
Yeah, I just cite that as one example.
Is anybody else looking at this?
No.
Why
And
not?
actually, we hired, as you know, we hired a parking czar in Aaron Ford, and we've taken all of the employees that were contractors and turned them into employees, and we're running the decks ourselves. And
There's no more parking advisory board doing all that?
yes, there is, but they're changing their mission to hopefully just deal with the commercial area of downtown, make that their sole responsibility, whereas their previous responsibility was just the surface parking,
Yeah.
which is somewhere around 1,300
It's only
cars.
1,300.
Yeah, but the point is we've given the APC the total parking, including the 5 decks, and Mr. Ford is running them as an enterprise, and
Enterprise fund,
we're
yeah.
making excellent money, as well as we're taking care of the infrastructure slowly. It had been neglected in the teens, but we're putting money back into our decks to ensure that they are safe and in good condition for the next 10 to 15 years at least.
So the teens, that's...
The teens, yeah.
What do we call the decade before that? The zips?
The aughts.
The
I
aughts.
say the
I
aughts.
said the zips, maybe. I don't know.
yeah.
It's to be talking about the 20s. I mean, growing up, it's like the 20s. I think of
The
Al
roaring.
Capone and the people flappers doing the Lindy and all that stuff. Okay, so we're talking about other areas that seem to be popping. The Triangle. I mean, there's that humongous building there between Woodward and Adams, and I have to say, I don't know what's going to happen when they all find out about Primo's Pizzas and their pizza squares. They're all going to flock there, which is as it should be. So, are there any more plans for that? Let's say the southeast corner of Woodward and Maple, Big Woodward.
Not that I know of, Chuck. You probably know more about it than I. Other
Nah.
than the zoning that they're putting that 5-story building in on Adams and Bowers.
That's the big
Yes,
one. The big one. We just call it the big one.
They have on site more than enough parking for all the apartments or condos as well as the retail, and they have an additional 60 plus parking spots on site that were not needed. So from a cluster viewpoint, they have been very conscientious in their design and execution,
Well,
which is good.
That's kind of my neighborhood. I mean, I'm north of Maple, but it's very large. But what was there before? These empty bank lots, and it was. I'd like to know if they could keep the little plant station building. We all like that.
Well,
but who knows?
You'll have to talk to the owner.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to listen to me.
He or she was the holdout in that entire block, but they redesigned their buildings so that
There are New Yorker cartoons about that, from the with skyscrapers and a little house there, and someone sitting there going like that.
Yeah, right. No, that's kind of how it played out. Though, in defense of that project, it complied with the zoning. It never came to the commission, and it's being done by Nathan Forbes and Tony Suave, who want to make that building sustainable for 100 years. Namely, they're not our normal developers trying to make a fast buck. They're here for the long haul.
Well, I don't know about normal developers.
I'm making a generalization.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but the deal is that I think it's a fine building. I mean, when it first went up and they had the parking structure in the middle and it was gray and everybody said it looked like a prison, because it did.
It did.
So I called city manager and she said, Chuck, you know, they all look at, just relax.
That's
It's
how
not
they
what it's
look.
going to look like, and it's going to be fine. It's like I said, I hope Primo's Pizza. I hope Primo's has to add on to be able to cope with that. I'm a big fan
It's
of
a
theirs.
good plug for
It's a
Primo's.
plug, yeah. I love a plug for Primo's. So, it's one thing to ask about is that Woodward Avenue. Now you've got a lot of stuff on, my side of Woodward Avenue, which is the east side. It talks about skinning it down, traffic calming on Woodward Avenue. Now I know that you live next to Woodward Avenue, so you might have a unique opinion on the noise. What's being looked at by that?
I think to a large extent, this is going to happen, maybe slowly. Like right now, we're putting up a traffic light at Forest, on the north side of the Speedway. So on both sides, we'll have a traffic light.
The Speedway.
And when I say
What's the Speedway?
Speedway gas station.
Oh, gas station.
Excuse
I thought you were talking
me.
about parts of the road.
I know.
Okay, because I thought the Woodward Avenue Speedway was north of Oakland as it widens out and goes all the way to Ted's.
You are correct.
I mean, Ted's is gone. Ted's
No,
Ted's
but
on
how
the park,
nice
yeah.
of you to say that. It goes all the way to Ted's.
Yeah,
'Cause
Ted's is at the
Chuck
corner
and
of
I
Square
are
Lake.
from the same era, and that is
Okay.
absolutely correct.
Okay, so all right, all right.
But we're trying to model the way we are thinking about downsizing or putting Woodward on a diet to model the Ferndale, what Ferndale has done.
That's the goal.
the goal. You're right.
Interesting.
Right.
I know there's a lot of noise, which you,
I'm at ground zero on the north end, so yes, there is a lot of noise.
it's funny. This reminds me, we had tons and tons of motorcycles, the Harleys, that were coming in every Wednesday. And what are we going to do with that? And then trouble in River City. It turns out that the Harley motorcycle gang were mostly your CPAs, your dentists, and your tax lawyers. And at that point, we just said, okay, enough about that. So you're really going to try and just, like, reduce it.
Yes. It's part of the mission that was adopted by the commission, that this is one of the most important issues facing us.
Really.
Yes, and it took 2 or 3 years to get the traffic light at Forest that MDOT's installing now,
Yeah.
and is almost operational, and we hope that that will help slow things down a little bit, and most importantly, make it pedestrian friendly. You know.
Well, I crossed there a lot, and we've crossed there with the little baby carriage of our little guy. But I'm conflicted because I like to drive fast as much as anyone. I like to, go fast on Woodward Avenue. On the other hand, I've almost myself and once my wife and daughter almost being wiped out on bicycles by people going through red lights. So I can see both
get it.
ways. I can see both ways.
Yeah.
But now, just once again, kind of shift a little gears here. Finances. City seems to be doing fine. AAA bond rating. How's that?
Hey, we're living the dream.
Well, I'm glad somebody is.
But I will say, in my personal opinion, and there are a few commissioners that agree with me, but I'm always giving my opinion, our most pressing problem is water in the basements, which is a nice way of saying we have problems with getting rid of our rainwater. I had a long chat about 10 days ago with Jim Nash. I call him the water czar of Oakland
Okay, now wait a
County.
minute. You've twice used the term
Czar.
Why do they call someone a czar? Why don't they call him like a Kaiser? You're the water Kaiser, or you're the water shogun, or you're the water, you're the water sultan, like the Ottomans. I mean, it's got to be the czar.
You're right. But anyway, Jim has some things that we can do now to help eliminate the water in our basement, and I asked our city manager to call Jim and have him and his fabulous engineers make a presentation to us as a commission and as a city to help get us thinking about what we can do now to eliminate the water in our basements. Now, part of that is the 100-year-old sewers. And again, this is the number one issue, I think, for at least some of the commissioners, and myself included. Namely, we are not changing out our 100-year-old sewers quickly enough, so we need to redirect more of the general budget to improving the sewers and the water system. And that would mean the unimproved roads would be hopefully fixed, because most of the unimproved roads have very old sewers underneath them.
I should think so.
Yeah.
Now I know that stormwater and we're going to go back to ancient times.
Please.
Way back in the 20th century.
Oh, that far.
When I sat on the commission, and they were talking about stormwater regulation someday in the far future, which might be like in 2003. That far in the future. So this issues of stormwater retention, impervious surfaces versus permeable surfaces, things like that.
Sadly, we're still talking about that, and namely, we need to take some action. The permeability on ordinance-wise, for example, if, I live on a 40-foot lot, okay? I have to have 30% permeability on that 40-foot lot. And I've said this many times. If it were a 50-foot lot, it ought to be 33%. If it was a 60% lot, 60-foot lot, it should be 36%. The point being, if you have a 100-foot lot, maybe you should get almost 50% permeability.
Permeability means it can soak in. It's not asphalt and
Correct.
built out. Yeah.
As well as we should demand that on any given construction site that they retain the water on that site, whether it's with a catch basin or a rain garden or tanks. We should be much more hawkish about seeing that people keep the water on their property. That would help the problem tremendously.
Well, I know in my neighborhood, it's tilted because the glaciation, and it runs from, I believe, the northwest down to the southeast, and people down river or downhill, they have ponds in their yards with ducks in them, and sometimes they get water in their basements, and so maybe it's time to look at that. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah,
Well,
I would consider that the number one issue facing our citizens.
really,
And then as a commissioner, the number two issue is our police station, which is a portion of City Hall. When we're audited by the state and the feds, the construction that is currently there, which is 35 plus years old. Lots of things have happened in the last 35 years, and the safety, the flow, the environment. There's even water in the basement where
Yeah.
the police are. This is something that's urgent and highly needed to take care of our employees.
well, we're going to unfortunately have to leave it there because we're out of time. I was going to ask about coyotes eating my dachshunds, but that's another issue.
I hope not.
I hope not too. All right, we're going to have to leave it here. We've been talking with Brad Host, Birmingham City Commissioner. I'm Chuck Moss, and thank you for joining us here on Eye on Oakland.